happy days, great way to start. Get the rod back out there and try and get another one. Right then, so welcome to another video. You join me back out on the bank and I'm once again up on Phil's on our syndicate, and actually I'm back in the same swim again, snake pit. Reason why? Well, I've seen a couple of fish shows I got here, and yeah, knowing the spots, confidence is high in here, so made absolute sense. The wind was trickling up here, although it has switched around slightly, so yeah, like I say, going on all of that, it made sense to drop in here. The rods are out, the house is up, everything is an absolute bomb site though, and to be honest, it's about 21 degrees today and I'm struggling in the heat. Yeah, I feel like I'm melting, so stick with me. But going to be talking a bit more about sort of fishing free on the spot and how to be most effective with that, so stay tuned for a couple of, wouldn't call them tips, but yeah, a little bit of what I do to try and be most effective and capitalise on any bites we might have. So fingers crossed we nab one. I'm going to get everything tidied up, and then yeah, I'll come back to you and we'll talk a bit more about that topic. Right then, so we had a bit of tidy up of camp, so it's looking a little bit more like it should, and hydrated ourselves with a bit of this Lucozade pink lemonade zero sugar stuff. If you haven't tried it yet, oh, it's incredible, so yeah, get yourself some of that in the shop. Anyway, what have I done? So I've put all three rods out all in one spot, and like I sort of mentioned in the intro, I was going to talk a little bit more detail about what that means if you're kind of new to the sport and trying to learn from these videos. So my horizon markers is 3 large trees, but in fact I'm trying to punch every single cast, whether it's lead and rig or with the spom, straight down that single channel. And what that means is I've got a much tighter sort of baited area with 3 rigs sitting in it, and if I can get a fish or 2 coming in to compete, they're going to be a lot more easy to catch. At least that's my theory. A couple of fish competing on a smaller patch, they're going to be less suspicious of rigs or any lead or any line they may come into contact with, rather than if you've got a large spreaded area and you've got one fish sort of plodding around picking up singles or picking up odd baits. When they come across yours, they've got more thinking time. That's my thought process on it. Obviously there's different ways to fish, and I am by no means any expert, but it's worked for us in the past, especially up on here, and it's something you might be able to take into your fishing. So we'll talk a little bit more about sort of rigs and bait that you might want to think about when putting out onto a spot like that, because that does also change from my point of view. And yeah, we'll have a look at those in a minute, but fingers crossed, it's looking good. There's a few fish have shown out in the area even after all the disturbance I've made, and so fingers crossed we'll have a bite. So sit tight and yeah, keep watching. Right then, well I was just sitting there just after doing a bit of piece to camera and telling you about what I'd done, and yeah, the middle rod's gone rattling off, and we've got one in the cell, so happy days. Let's get it out, see how big she is, yeah, and see if we can get a couple more, eh? Right then, well the rods have only been out 2-3 hours and we've already got our first one, so happy days, great way to start a session. So this one was caught on a pink bug wafter over quite a bit of bait, so yeah, they're obviously getting on it. It's a bit of an awkward one to hold actually, because it's quite dumpy, but yeah, £20.6. Another lovely mirror out of Syndicate. Happy days, great way to start. Get the rod back out there and try and get another one. Quickly show you the other side. So it's warm today, so I don't want to keep it out of the water any longer than necessary. God, it is awkward to hold. Weird shape. But there we go. £20.6. Happy days. Right then, well here's the rigs I'm using on this session. So all very similar. So you've got between 8 to 10 inches of ESP tungsten loaded braid, and then they're attached D-rig style to a size 4 ESP gripper rigger, which is a nice razor sharp hook with a nice outturned eye, which works well with a D-rig. So attaching then a bait on using a sort of micro ring swivel, and on there I've got 2 of the pink two-tone bug wafters, which are whittled down slightly just because they're mega buoyant, and then the orange one is a Fruitalicious. So yeah, the pink did me the bite, as it has been doing me up here, but we thought we'd have a go with the orange as well, just to see if we can pick up another one on a different colour, or if they've got any preference. So that's the rigs, and fingers crossed it can do us another bite. Right then, just a bit of an evening update then. So after that fish, I put 4 more spods out just to try and top up the area and keep that attraction going in. I must admit it's gone a little bit quiet. I would have thought I'd had another one by now if there was fish feeding out there, I won't lie. But this swim hasn't done any night bites as far as I'm aware for weeks now, so I'm not expecting anything in the night. But yeah, fingers crossed, starting early morning and then throughout tomorrow we might be able to pick up another one. But yeah, maybe I'd see it down there. The barbecue's on, so not as all as bad in the world. And like I say, it might be a good night's sleep, but fingers crossed when that morning sun comes up we can start it off again. But just have to wait and see. But yeah, keep your fingers crossed for me. Right then, so now I've finished my barbecue, which I must admit was excellent. I thought I'd just talk you through the mix I've been using. So for me, like I say, fishing 3 rods on the spot and trying to get that bait as tight as I can. Fishing 18 or 15 mil whole boilies is not the one. What I've got in here is lots of small food items, keep them grubbing around, keep them competing for every single mouthful, and also just means that anything they do pick up before they get to my hook bait is going to pass through them real quickly and not fill them up. So start off with, I've soaked a load of the new Bug 12 millers for about 48 hours before I came. That was in boiling water and some of the spod hydro syrup, and then yeah, just crushing up by hand every single boilie, crushing it up by hand just so they're just down to sort of like a crumb or maybe a couple of halves, that sort of thing. In there we've also got some crumbed up and whole maxi pellet, which is only sort of like mixture of sort of 6 and 8 mils, some S7 pellet, which again are only 6 mil, and then some 8 mil SLK, which I had kicking around in my food bank as such. So yeah, that's all been glazed quite heavily in the Bug spod syrup, and it just means you've got loads of attraction. Like I say, we get the fish hopefully competing, and as you might have seen in the previous video if you've watched that, if not, why not? You know, double takes are quite easily had, and you can be picking up 2 or 3 fish very quickly in that feeding spell. So if you're looking to try and fish 3 rods tight on that spot, baiting is really important. Getting it not only accurate but also putting the right stuff out there so that you can keep those fish grubbing around, competing until they find your hook bait, and then hopefully it's one in the net. So yeah, just something to take maybe into your own fishing if it's something you're trying to do. Right then, well, good morning. Hopefully you can hear me over the birds singing, but yeah, nothing to report from the night. But then again, I wasn't really expecting anything. I haven't seen in the catch reports or in the photos this fish doing a bite in the night for months now, so yeah, wasn't to be surprised. Decided, well, it's about 7 AM now, so decided I'm going to top up the spot with just a couple more spawns just to add a bit more attraction in and see if we can entice something into it. Truth be told, I haven't seen anything across the entire lake in the last sort of hour and a half while I've been up. But yeah, so it does look a bit dead, and let's see if we can create something by putting a bit more bait in. So that's the plan. Sometimes just putting a couple of spawns in, you know, not only the attraction in the water column, but also then the you know, the sound of the spawn can actually draw the fish into the area and getting them in the mood for a feed. So like before, just going to try and drum this one straight down that middle tree. Nice and accurate, keep all the bait together. When you're spomming onto a spot, you know, and you're trying to keep it as tight as you can, I see a lot of people just drawing the spom straight back. One thing, I let the spom settle for a couple of seconds just to make sure it dumps all of its load on that spot before I'm then drawing it back and spreading it back across my line. So yeah, it's something you might want to think about doing in your own fishing. Sort of plan for the morning is I'm going to give it a couple more hours here. If nothing's happening and I'm seeing nothing, I'm probably going to reel in, go for a bit of a wander around the lake. There is a chance, it's been warm for a few days now, that the fish have got other things on their minds, and if I start seeing them following each other, then yeah, I'm just going to reel in and go home anyway. But it might be there's another opportunity to be had somewhere else on the lake, so if that's the case, we'll be reeling in, packing up. Well, we'll be reeling in anyway, but we'll be packing up, trying to make it happen before we've got to go home. So gonna get this one out there, sit back, watch the water, and see what happens. Just about. Right then, so it's been another hour or so since I put that bait out, and I've seen absolutely nothing out there. So I've decided to reel the rods in, going to go for a bit of a wander and see if I can find any fish anywhere else that might be up for a feed. So just a little sort of tip, or what I like to do is, when I'm leaving the rods or when I'm going to be getting the rods back out, I like to have them all wrapped up in the clips, ready so that I can cast out rod 1, 2 and 3 in quick succession. Just that way it means I can know I'm getting nice and accurate. I know if any of the rods are sort of potentially crossed and I need to switch the rods around. And yeah, rather than sort of casting one rod out, you know, then coming back, wrapping out the other rod, putting the bait on, and yeah, doing that faffing in between, I find it a lot harder then to remember exactly where that rod landed if you're aiming at that one tree. So yeah, just something I like to do, might be useful for you in your fishing. So like I say, rods are reeled in, going to take the baits off, go for a little wander, and see if I can find any fish. So catch up with you soon. Right then, so yeah, I've been for a bit of a wander and I found a load of fish sat up, or should I say shoaling up, in a swim called Summers Bay, which is like a days only area. Yeah, they're definitely starting to shoal up, fish are following each other, showing signs of spawning, so I'm not fishing for anything that's showing signs of getting in the spawning mood. So yeah, the rods are going to stay reeled in, we're going to pack up and get off home. So yeah, a little bit of a disappointing ending, shame to only put the one on the bank, but if I'm honest, the fish just don't seem up for it like they have in previous weeks. I hope you've managed to take something from this video. So like I say, fishing free on the spot is a really effective method. Just get your spot in and your casting, plumb down that same line, nice and tight baiting application, get the bait right, get your rigs right, and yeah, everything else will hopefully come good for you. So until next time, make sure you subscribe. Until next time, make sure you subscribe, check us out on Instagram and Facebook, and yeah, until next time, be lucky, and if a fish are spawning, let them get on with it.